Hello and welcome back to the ministry. And today we are talking about the Lord gave me a revelation last night in relation to the story of Methebasheph and the wisdom of the story of the man at the pool of Bethesda. And I need you to understand me. The man of the pool of Bethesda was laying lame at the side of the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. This man could not get up, and it wasn't until Jesus stopped and asked him, did he want to be healed? And he finally came to a point at the end of himself and said, yes, he wanted to be healed. Your spouses, and I need you to hear me. I don't know how old your spouses are. I don't know what the case is, but whatever their 38-year experience is, okay? Some of your spouses went through a traumatic experience at a point in time in their life that created the wound that everything else was built on top of. A lot of people and society teaches us this, to bury our issues. People bury it under what? Drinking, drugs, sex, all of these kinds of things. Then add on top of that, family members, friends. They will project their opinions, they will project their anger, and they will dump their dirt, trash, and what is it? The things that they aren't dealing with, they'll project that on you. So imagine your spouse having gone through all of that, and they had already gone through a trauma as a young child, then having all of this stuff projected on top of it. So instead, they allowed it to be buried under whatever it was, drinking, sex. So you want me to bring that in here? Last night, he brought a revelation to me. This may be for somebody, but he showed me the movie Addicted. In that film, and right after I saw the Lord showed this to me, I've seen that movie. I saw it before I really started walking with God. I haven't watched it since because there's a whole lot of sexual stuff in there. But my point being is the caveat to that film was the main character had a childhood trauma. She was sexually assaulted as a child. So what she did was ended up recreating, okay, a situation that had occurred by allowing, I'm going to say what it was. She was gang assaulted by 3 different men or young boys when she was a child. What she ended up doing is, in order to recreate that as an adult, she married one man that resembled one of her attackers in ethnicity. She cheated on that man with another person that resembled one of her attackers in ethnicity. And she had a third. She was recreating what happened to her in her relationships. I'm being reminded of the word Stockholm Syndrome. Some of your spouses were recreating the trauma in their relationships to whatever that first trauma was through the people, situations, so on and so forth. Whether it was a relational, some of you, I'm sorry to say, it may have been a sexual thing that happened to them as a child, or something that they were not getting as a child that was injuring them. And they recreated that whatever that was within the relationships they had as an adult. What I recognize is this: in seasons, okay, whatever season that you're in, you will usually be able to pinpoint, there are usually, whatever your trauma is, there will be the one or the three or whatever amount of people that were traumatic will be present in other individuals. Same type of spirit, different individuals. You move cities, same thing. As long as you don't deal with the spirit, the root, the thing that needed to be plucked up, whatever that wound was, if you don't deal with it, it's going to keep repeating in those relationships, keep repeating in scenarios, repeating themselves just as you grow through life. You're going to run into the same three people, the same. See how that works? Because you didn't deal with the issue, the main issue. So some of your spouses had that problem, and that's what was crippling them for the past 38 years. Maybe it was 38 years. Maybe it was whatever period of time. But it was repeating itself. We just talked about cycles in the previous word. And it was going to keep repeating itself until they recognized it and came face to face with whatever was being projected upon them, whatever they were allowing, whatever it was that was the curse at the root that was trying to maintain itself. Now, the Lord showed me something else last night in relation to a spirit that was like a parasite attached. I'm not going to dig deep into that because I want to do some more research. But this spirit was using the wound to maintain its hold. As long as that wound was held, that man was going to stay in that same cycle. But remember, I was doing a music review a while back. I said a harpoon hook in the back of the neck. This was keeping them from being able to talk. When they came to a point of dealing with the issue, remember, our previous generations have always taught us what? Don't talk about what happened. But you do not become free from it until you testify that it happened and you release the pain of it. These men have not had to release it. Whatever it was, whatever that thing was at the pool of Bethesda, they needed the healing. Jesus came into that man and said, do you want to be healed? What we have been doing is healing them spiritually, forcing them to go through a level of deliverance in order to heal them from their destruction, their iniquities, and stopping them from continuing to coddle it, continuing to bury it, continuing to smother it, continuing to prevent it from coming up. We forced it. How many times, you remember when God was pruning you the first time and he would put you in a situation and force you to cry and force you to, because you were consecrating or something like that, and no matter how hard you tried to not do it, he forced it out of you? That's what he was doing to them. He was forcing whatever that issue is out of them, forcing them to deal with it, so when they got to you, they wouldn't be kirking out on you because of it. You see how that works? Now, with that being said, what ended up happening next is you had your own issues, things that you were crippled by, things that you had to heal from. Now, this is what is the issue. The man at the pool of Bethesda had been dealing with a physical and spiritual issue that he needed to be healed from for all those years. You had an external issue or an internal issue. You look at it how you want to look at it. But remember, David came to get Methebasheph. Your spouse recognizes that as Jesus was one that could heal him, you are one that can heal them. But you're doing it spiritually. I'm reminded of the old saying, real recognizes real. His spirit recognizes your spirit. So because his spirit recognized the realness in your spirit, he's going to favor you much as David did. Because David, if we recall, David was a mess. So Methebasheph was then taken care of by David. You are able to spiritually heal them, that wherever you were able to fight spiritually, they will be able